You love guitar nerds, bases loaded, rock band. You're really kind of fit in all those kinds of. You're a nerd. You're close enough to a guitar player that we consider you an honorary nerd. John Durzo, Columbus, Ohio native.
Yes.
Columbus, Ohio native. This is your second helping.
Yes.
We're gonna settle on what we didn't, or some of what we didn't. I don't know that your story can be told in 2 sessions, but some of what your story is. Those who haven't seen the first episode or the first interview, we talked about your history. Some of your history is you started out as a B flat tenor sax player.
Correct.
And then that you went through the school system with that?
Yeah, I started out in 5th grade, I think, something like that, taking lessons. And they put me in marching band in junior high. And of course, I freaked out. And, I didn't want to do that. So, but I kept hearing Johnny and the Hurricanes on the radio, and I kept liking that saxophone. I just didn't like, having some 55-year-old man that was into Johnny Mathis, tell me how to play saxophone.
Yeah. What were they trying to say? Who were they giving you? What kind of direction were we talking about?
Well, anything they had in front of me in sheet music sucked. You know what I mean?
I do.
It's like, give me some rock and roll. Let's go. Come on, teach me that stuff.
Yeah. On saxophone.
I don't know that stuff. My hair's not long enough. Oh my.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a short-lived professional debut in saxophone.
Yeah, you say you were horrible. By your count, you were horrible. But other people who were there, you weren't as horrible as you thought. So John Schwab said, "Nah, you weren't that horrible." Who were you listening to, saxophone player wise?
Johnny Paris was his name, from Johnny and the Hurricanes. I liked him a lot. There was a local guy named Buddy Woods that lived, went to my high school, but I mean, he was, a few years older than me. Funny thing, David Smith from the group Strongbow came down from Findlay, Ohio to play with Buddy Woods in the Neutrons.
Okay.
Buddy was an awesome sax player. He was like Junior Walker. He could just do things with that. Awesome. And the strange story there was he ended up marrying a deaf girl.
Oh, wow.
and she was just a sweetheart. She went to Dublin also.
Yeah.
But it was, it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So those were my influence. I didn't really, fan out. I wasn't listening to definitely not into any jazz.
Yeah.
And
I would probably expect some Junior Walker, maybe Maceo, but maybe not. Junior Walker anyway.
Yeah.
Memphis Soul Stew. So did the Beatles hit you pretty hard or not?
Yes and no. When they started taking acid and going to see the Maharaji and all that stuff, yeah, it caught my attention then.
Yeah.
But, their songs were incredible. I mean, they had, and how can you sit down and write 300 songs like in a month and put them on 5 albums and have the albums numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, for months on end? They're incredibly talented. But I was kind of influenced by the Rolling Stones. I liked the Bad Boys, not the guys that came out and smelled like, High Karate or Jade East. I like the guys that, didn't smell quite like that.
Yeah.
More like body odor, and boys with all the.
So there's a thing that either you're Rolling Stones or you're Beatles, and you're definitely the Rolling Stones.
Yes.
Okay. So Johnny and the Rebels, your first band, St. John's Mod.
Yes.
Who named that band?
I did.
You did. What was the thought about it? You were St. John?
Mods and the Rockers. I was St. John because I was the singer and the sax player.
Okay.
And I had been on the north end of Columbus. I would have gone to Columbus North had we not moved to the Dublin area. And I ran into some kids that I knew in elementary school, and one of them played bass and one of them played drums. And so we got them. And then Mel Reed was another kid from Dublin High School. He was a couple years older than me. He was a keyboard player.
Mm-hmm.
And so we got that. We didn't have a guitar player. We had one guy that was going to play with us, and he came out and auditioned. Everybody liked everything. He liked us, and then we never saw him again. Mm-hmm. And somebody found Schwab, and Schwab came out. The first time he came out, there was a party we were playing at my parents' house, and Schwab was, I think he was about 7 or 8 at the time.
Really?
No, he wasn't that.
I was going to say
I think he was 14.
All right.
Like that, but
and he was gigging 4 nights a week.
Well, no, he started with us basically.
Okay.
I think we were his first band.
Okay.
But yeah, we worked into playing quite a bit.
What did he sound like back then?
One more time.
What did he sound like back then? What did the band sound like?
Well, the band was, we were doing, I don't know, we'd go from Paul Revere and the Raiders to Talk by the Music Machine or whatever the band was. We did some British songs. We did I Put a Spell on You, as everybody did. Just the radio back then in the 66, 67, 68.
Okay.
And, we had a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Sounded pretty good. We went on tour, and the tour by playing armories throughout the state of Ohio with another band, and neither one of us got paid. Mm-hmm. So we're still looking for the promoter of that.
Yeah.
Oh, well. Yeah, I think if he paid us what he owed us, we'd probably get $37.50 each for all the 10 gigs that we did. Of course, we weren't smart enough to stop, after not getting paid for the first one.
Yeah. Yeah. So, a lot of how you learned how to play came from your ear. Your ear.
Right here.
Yeah, right here. Mm-hmm. So, with St. John's Mod, that was kind of the first time you picked up the bass. Tell us that story.
Well, I actually had started. I didn't actually play the bass in Johnny and the Rebels. What I would do would be help the bass player learn his parts. I just picked the bass up and playing around with it and said, oh, I think this is what the guy was playing. And so he'd play it and it sounded all right. So I'd start doing that on a lot of the songs, teaching him the parts. And then in St. John's Mod, the bass player also played keyboards and sang. And the keyboard player would come out front sometimes. The bass player would go over to the keyboards. I'd go to the bass. Mm-hmm. And so I started playing a few songs a night, nothing major, but just, a few songs. And I kind of liked it. And you get back up to that bass amp and, hit a couple low notes and
your pant leg moves.
Your junk and start flapping in your jeans. That was kind of cool.
So that, how long did St. John's Mod last?
Well, we started like in early summer. Everybody else in Johnny and the Rebels was a year ahead of me, and they all graduated and went all over the place. The manager stuck around, and he and I basically put St. John's Mod together. So that was early summer of 67. And then, 66, early summer of 66. Went all through my senior year and through the next summer. So it was after a year. And then I went to Miami, Ohio, which was about 2.5 hours from Columbus. Sometimes an hour and 15, depending on how I drove to get back home. Uh-huh. But they kept playing, and so I had to come back. I got them down there one time for a fraternity party, but I had to go home every weekend, much to my parents' chagrin. But then at Christmas time, I came back up, and they were playing a bar. They'd been there all week. And I was in Mount Vernon or somewhere, and I came in and they said, well, we're going to go ahead and play without you. And I said, oh. So and Schwab told me, he says he thanked me for giving him his start in his career of singing, because he was forced into singing when I went away to college, and
Yeah.
they had to do the gigs. So
Yeah. So he replaced you.
yeah, I thought that was a pretty flattering story there.
That I never knew. That I
Yeah.
never knew.
First time I got fired. So it wasn't really fired. It was like, you can't come back, on a Monday night to play and then go
For the
back.
practice. I've been there.
Yeah.
I've been there. So from there, it was the Water Bears?
Water Bears in Miami and Oxford, Ohio. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what about the Water Bears?
I was rushing fraternities while I was down there. And there was a couple of Sigma News that were from Whetstone High School in the north end of Columbus. And then there was a Phi Delta from Arlington. And they were in a band, and their bass player was Dave Walmsley was his last name, Steve Walmsley, that was it.
Mm-hmm.
He had left their band because there was a local band that had made an offer to him, and it was a group called the Lemon Pipers. And so he went with them and got a recording contract and became a rock and roll star for a year or two until the Lemon Pipers faded away. But
were the Lemon Pipers a thing? A big thing?
Oh, yeah, they were signed to Buddha or somebody like that.
I was gonna say, I think I heard of them.
Yeah, Rice is Nice, Green Tambourine.
Oh yeah.
And I tell you what, man, they were a badass blues band.
Uh-huh.
Hard hitting, boy. They just rocked. And then they come out with this bubblegum shit, and I was just laughing my ass off. But what happened was they needed the bass player, and I said, well, hell, I can do that. I borrowed somebody's guitar and tuned the strings down an octave, and it just it sounded horrible. So I went back home and bought a 1964 Fender Precision bass off a girlfriend's brother who had broken his wrist, and I still have it. And that was my start as a full-time bass player.
Right at the Water Bears.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. So and that led into Sweat Big House.
Well, kind of, because playing with the Water Bears and majoring in fraternity and beer and broads and bars, things like that, the university decided that I should probably go back home and think about my career, since starting my third year there, I was still a freshman because I had flunked a few classes, shall we say. But when I got back there, I think it was Billy Carroll, who was a local rock star at the time with the Fifth Order, had a bunch of records out and stuff, had found out that we had a band room at our house over the garage, and he came out and talked to me about practicing there. And it turns out they needed a bass player, so Billy came out. There was a guy named Frank Pierce that was with him. And both Billy and Frank were drummers that sang.
Okay.
Then they brought this guitar player with them. It didn't say much, Michael Shortland. And we did a few gigs, and but the thing there was it was my foundation, my networking foundation. It gave me all the breaks that I seemed to get for 10 or 15 years.
Yeah.
I ended up playing with those guys for years, and it was wonderful, just wonderful.
What was the foundation, would you say?
Well, just getting to know them and playing with them and creating friendships.
Yeah.
It was me coming from, Johnny and the Rebels were here, St. John's Mod was here. But those guys were, way up.
Yeah.
Way up. And for me to get up in that echelon with them was something in my mind.
Yeah.
It was an inspiration for me to practice and work harder. But we didn't last long. We lasted the summer, and then I went back to Miami, Ohio. But when I got drafted out of college, I decided just to chuck it all in and say, heck with it. I was going to go in and enlist, and they wouldn't take me.
Why is that?
Oh, I had high blood pressure, and then I developed an ulcer, and I don't know. I had to go into a doctor a few times and get them to certify something and send it to my draft board, but then I got a permanent deferment. But Shortland, after I got back, called me he was in Athens, Georgia, with JD Blackfoot and a group called Uncle Billy, which was Clarence McGurr, him, and another bass player from Columbus. Bass player had gotten homesick and went home. It didn't tell anybody. And so Michael called me, and they had me on a plane in a day or two and flew to Atlanta, and I got in a van with JD and Michael and Clarence, and we drove all the way down to Athens, and I walked in, and he had rented a schoolhouse, and walk in the front door, and there's this huge auditorium, and down at the end is a stage 3 or 4 feet off the ground, and sitting on that stage is this huge double kick set of drums. Off to one side is 200-watt Marshall stacks, and off to the other side is 4 SVT cabinets and 2 SVT heads. And he says, "What do you think of your bass amp?" And I said, "I love you, man."
Yeah. Yeah, you're a rise to regional, I don't know, regional fame.
Who, JD?
No, you.
Me?
Your rise as a bass player happened pretty quick.
Oh, pretty damn quick.
Yeah.
I was in Sweat Big House after playing for a year or two, maybe.
Okay.
And then JD after 3 or 4 years.
So who were you listening to at, like, at Sweat Big House? Who did you take who are your I guess heroes, or who are you listening to?
Spooky Tooth, Atomic Rooster.
Okay.
Some of those people, Genesis, I think they were around then. Hell, I don't know who was around, but we were doing the, if we heard a song on the radio, we wouldn't listen to that. If we bought the album, we'd go listen to everything else.
Yeah.
And it was we were the AOR type people.
Yeah. The deep tracks.
Yeah, we weren't the top 40 people at all.
Yeah.
And then from JD Blackfoot on, pretty much it was 90. Well, JD was 100% original, but everything else was 90% original anyhow.
Yeah. Yeah. So JD Blackfoot is, you say, his Uncle Billy. Did it ever become just JD Blackfoot?
Oh yeah. It was his first album on Mercury Records was, The Ultimate Prophecy was JD Blackfoot.
Okay.
And he and that band had a falling out, and he decided that if he was going to, when he got in another band, which he had, plans to do, he was already talking to Shortland before that. He wanted the band to be Uncle Billy so that Uncle Billy could split off from him, and go do gigs on their own if they wanted to.
Yeah.
And it never materialized because, good Lord, those were the days of soapers. And 3-2 beer could still get you drunk.
Oh, yeah.
Tell you what, that was a nasty hangover. Anyhow, so yeah, he became JD Blackfoot, and then became JD Blackfoot and Uncle Billy, and then that band broke up, and I moved on from there. Moved with a group called Whiteheart, and that's where I met John Stelzer from Strongbow.
Mm-hmm.
Billy Carroll was in that from Sweat Big House, and I met George Mobley, who later was JD's guitar player for 50 years.
Okay.
It was a top 40 band. We were a dynamic entertainment band, and we ended up traveling all around the Midwest, doing 5 and 6 nights a week. And at some point in 71, I just decided, this is it. I've had enough of this. I'm going to go to California.
Okay.
And so my girlfriend at the time and I packed up all my stuff in my van, and we moved to Northern California. I had aunt and uncle up there just south of San Francisco. And I got a job getting, temporary free subscriptions to the San Francisco Chronicle, driving around a bunch of young kids, getting these subscriptions. And JD calls up. He's down in Southern California, up just above San Bernardino, in a place called Running Springs, which is between Lake Arrowhead and Big Bear Lake. And he wanted me to come down. He had a drummer that was pretty hot. And I said, okay. So I moved down there in January of '72, and we started writing songs. JD and I got extremely drunk one night when my girlfriend and his wife and kids had split. They went back to Columbus. And so we got drunk and got a guitar and wrote a country song called I Flushed You from the Toilets of My Heart. And it became kind of an anthem in St. Louis.
All right.
It got me credit on the Song of Crazy Horse album.
All right.
And so he went back to his wife, and the drummer, before he left, had a gig at a recording studio in Santa Ana. And he was working with 3 songwriters, one of which had gotten a trust fund and was spending every penny he could as fast as he possibly could in the recording studio. And it was actually pretty good stuff. I really liked it. He took me down there because they needed a bass player. Hey, guess what? I play bass. So we went down there and did a lot of recording. And then when JD left, they said, well, let's get a band together. And I said, well, I've got a great name, Ruby Wheeler. And they said, oh, we love it. So the band was called Ruby Wheeler. We got a house in Orange, California. And the drummer decided he was taking lessons from a guy that was teaching Jim Keltner and Jim Gordon.
All right.
Delaney and Bonnie and Friends. Those 2 drummers that were just like, scary people. Anyhow, so
Jim Chapin.
Beg your pardon?
Would it be Jim Chapin?
Yeah. I called up Billy Carroll from Sweat Big House, Whiteheart, and said, hey, why don't you come out here and play drums with my band, our band? And he said, okay. So we got in my van and drove all the way to Ohio to pick him up, and picked him up and drove all the way back. And we played for a while. We found a sponsor that owned his own pearl business. Now, this guy would get oysters and take them to ladies' houses, like a Tupperware party. You get a bunch of ladies in there, and they'd pick out their own oyster, and then they'd open them up to see if they had a pearl. If they had a pearl inside, by golly, this guy sold them jewelry. And he had a fleet of Cadillacs that he drove us around in. I don't think there was ever any more than 2 guys in the band in one Cadillac at a time. And the trunk always was filled up with, I don't know if you would remember this, but they used to have big, tall, black cans of Budweiser malt liquor. And we always had a case in each trunk.
Right.
Put your guitars in there and pull a beer or 2 out while you get up. We played all the colleges in the area, played all around, all original, 100% original. 3 and 4 songwriters. We had a home, and we built a recording, like a studio, a room inside the living room for our practice, and insulated the piss out of it. You couldn't hear anything if you were outside on the front porch until you opened 2 sets of doors, and then there was the band blasting in there. It was pretty cool. But at that time, the guitar player was mildly alcoholic, and he decided that he was going to get his alcoholic bass player friend to be in the band with him so they could be alcoholics together. And so I was fired again, number 2. Well, the studio where we had been working, United Audio in Santa Ana, had this this guy that was an assistant engineer there, Johnny Starbuck. And Starbuck ended up being Billy Preston's keyboard roadie.
All right.
And then after that, the Rolling Stones stole him from Preston, and he ended up being Ronnie Wood's guitar tech. And he was with the Stones for about 35 years. Mm-hmm. And of course, when they came to Orlando, he had retired. He was down in the mountains south of San Diego in Mexico. Boy, was that pissed me off. Anyhow, so Starbuck heard there was this guy from Texas, this guitar player singer, that was coming into the studio that was looking for musicians.
Yes.
So he didn't have a drummer. So I called Billy up and said, look, man, you guys just fired me. That kind of sucks. Would you do me one last favor and come in and jam with us? So, I can at least audition with this guy and see if I get the gig. And he came down and I got the gig. And so we went up to Hollywood, and we got a house. I don't know, it was about 5 or 6 blocks from the Brown Derby restaurant in Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. And just a great environment. He had a manager. The manager got a rehearsal room at Studio Instrument Rentals in LA, and we started auditioning drummers. And he had known some keyboard player from Texas that was in Los Angeles, played keyboard, B3, electric piano, had a synthesizer, sax, flute, sang like a bird. So we had the basis of it. We didn't have a drummer. Well, we got all these California drummers that were out there, and they all sounded exactly the same. He started playing one of his songs, and that's what you would expect the drummer to play.
Yeah.
And then this guy comes in, little short guy, long curly hair down to about the middle of his back. It was from Liverpool, I think, somewhere over in England. Brian Glasscock was his name. His brother was the bass player for Jethro Tull at the time.
Okay.
And he came in and he got down, and Timmy started playing that lick, and Brian just took off in some beat that was just like, and we all just stopped playing and looked at it. And he got the job right there. Mm-hmm. Brian ended up being the drummer for Martha Davis and the Motels.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
They were huge.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
A lot of people don't know this about it because they're probably maybe a one-hit wonder.
Oh, no. No, she had 4 or 5 big hits.
Okay, so but to hear the thing, it's like, she reestablished the scene in LA.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Kind of like the old rock scene went when the Motels were coming up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it's like,
yeah. So we played with him, and he got a little frustrated because we went up and did 8 or 10 weeks in Stockton, California, and it was a rock and roll club, but he didn't like playing. He came from a band originally in England called Rose, and they did a lot of stuff with a lot of different time signatures. Well, Timmy and I were kind of messing around with time signatures, so like we do 3 measures of 4 and then a measure of 3 just to fuck with the people on the dance floor. Mm-hmm. Sit there and watch them, try and dance to that. Okay, come on, Slick, let's see your moves. Mm-hmm. But we had fun doing that. But Brian laughed, and then we got some other guy. It turns out during this whole process, when we get back to LA and Brian leaves the band, Timmy knows Robert Margouleff, had lived in the same building with him in New York when he was like 16 years old. Hendrix was in the building as well. Mm-hmm. Robert Margouleff and Malcolm Cecil of Black Bull Music, Stevie Wonder's producers. They were residency at the record plant in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
So Timmy and I went down there, and there's Robert Margouleff. He's in a hot tub, just invited us in. Oh, no, we can't. We just had our hair done. But Margouleff remembered Timmy and just, said, yeah, I'll give you one of my engineers and, come in anytime you want. So we had free studio time. Timmy had free studio time at
Yeah.
the record plant. And we'd go in there and just, oh my God, we had some great stuff come out of that.
Timmy played what?
Timmy played guitar. He also played piano, and he sang literally like a bird.
Okay.
I will send you some of his music.
Yeah.
Yeah, unbelievable. Truly a Texan. But he knew a guy named Snuffy Walden.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Snuffy was in a group called, well, it was Aphrodite when Emerson, Lake and Palmer came in to see him play in Denver, and they took the bass player and Snuffy, Alan Roberts and Snuffy. They took them back to England with them. The drummer got homesick and went back to Texas. I think, don't quote me on this, but I think he played for Blood Rock after that, but I'm not sure.
Okay, Blood Rock.
Yeah, oh, great band. Anyhow, so they got over there and they got Leslie Sampson on drums, Stray Dog, and they were touring all over Europe, just tearing it up. Oh my God. Then they decided to move to Los Angeles about the time I went back to Ohio for a birthday, just, you know, to see my parents and see my family for a while. And I was back there for a week, and Shortland calls me up. Michael Shortland. He calls me up. He says, hey, our bass player just quit. I want you to come and audition for my band. And I said, dude, I got free studio time at the record plant. I'll come out and jam with you, but audition? I don't think so.
Yeah.
And it was Strongbow. And I went out, and here's John Stelzer, who I knew dearly, Michael Shortland, who I knew dearly. And then Bill Bendler was the singer and keyboard player. It was opened up this case and pulls out a trombone. I'm going, what the fuck are you going to do with that in a rock and roll band? He says, just wait. So he's putting this trombone together, and here's this drummer that came down from Findlay, David Smith, that was just one of the most revered drummer at the time in Columbus. I mean, people just, you couldn't believe the foot he had. And he would do, you know, press rolls with one hand around his drums while he's scratching his back with the other. Mm-hmm. Just incredible guy. So they're getting all their stuff ready. And, he said, here's a song and there's a little lick like this. And he plays the lick and I got it. Okay, cool. And he says, we're going to do this first. And so Smitty counts out 1, 2, 3, 4, and bam, they go. And Bendler picks up this trombone. He's got a Kahn multivider on it, 3 octaves of trombone. Mm-hmm. He's running it through a wah-wah pedal.
All right.
Everything in there was Ampeg powered, except for the PA, which was a West PA, which actually had been Mel Shocker's bass amp from Grand Funk Railroad. Mm-hmm. Bought it from him before he got a bigger bass amp.
Yeah.
And the first song, it was just like, I was almost to the point of it being in tears. I was like, man, I said, if you guys need a bass player, I'm here. Mm-hmm. So we played a few more. I wanted to hear a couple more songs just to make sure that they didn't have like one hit. All of them were just incredible. So we just decided on that. I talked Bendler into driving back to California with me. And he's driving back to California, got a piece of paper in front of him. Now, he graduated from Ohio State, a music degree. Uh-huh. The guys from Woody Herman's band offered him first trombone chair in their band. Uh-huh. Somebody came at graduation, and somebody came up from Arizona or Arizona State, I can't remember which, but offered him the assistant music directorship out there. And he's, no, I'd rather play rock and roll, man.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So okay, you play with somebody like that. What did you pull from them? Like, what could you have to learn lots of stuff?
Oh yeah, he's just, while we were out there, he had a piece of paper. He's writing down this thing. He starts singing this melody. He says, "This is your bass line." And I'm singing that along back with him. And then he's doing this other thing and going, hey, we're going to go from here to here. He always had some weird chords happening in there. Stelzer was known for that. You know, you couldn't just play a G. You had to play a G with an F and then an E flat in there. And it was, you know, it's just great stuff. I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
And we got my stuff and came back and started rehearsing. And it seemed like every time we had an opportunity, we were in a studio somewhere. And this was just, you know, we did a lot of schlock stuff, I guess. But most of the songs that we did, the cover songs, we were doing like 5 sets, 6 nights a week up through Michigan and Ohio. We just traveled all the time. It was wonderful for us because, I mean, we became pretty damn tight, pretty damn quick. And it was nice. As we were building these songs and recording them, we decided, you know, well, let's put a little package together. And we had a promo package and a tape, and we sent 7 songs out. And guy from Southwind Records, which was a subsidiary of Buddha, came back to us and said they wanted to, you know, hear us live and wanted to sign us maybe. And they came out and heard us and signed us. So we were really happy. They had a manager for us up there also. Unfortunately, we didn't know that he was actually on the verge of going completely batshit insane. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So they get us. We're down in Atlanta at the Alex Cooley's Electric Ballroom. We open up for Ted Nugent. And then we're back, I don't know, 3 to 6 months later, opening up for Elvin Bishop when they had fooled around and fell in love out.
Mickey Thomas.
Oh my God. And Donnie Baldwin, both of them ended up in
Yeah.
And Bonnie Bramlett comes in to sit in with him one night.
All right. And Delaney and Bomb.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And let me tell you what, I had been in love with that girl for years and years. From afar, of course. Yeah. And I got a chance to meet her. And she said, "Hi, John, nice to meet you." Shook my hand. And then passed out dead drunk, fell over backwards. There was a big horse trough in Elvin's dressing room filled with water and ice and beer and wine. And she sat right down in it and just out cold. I went, oh, shit.
That's it.
Missed my chance.
Came and went.
Yeah, so I don't know. It just, you know, Ron Sunshine took us. We had one stop in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, at a wooden roller skating rink on a lake. And if you hit the snare drum, just gently tapped it, it was ear-splitting loud without setting up our equipment and miking everything.
Yeah.
So that was, I think we shocked the locals, and I think probably 3 or 4 towns over, they were probably bitching about the noise. But we went from there to, I think it was Los Angeles first. Yeah, to the Starwood. We were opening up for Lydia Pence and Cold Blood.
Wow.
3 nights, and then Ruby Star and Grey Ghost for 3 nights. Ruby Star from Jim Dandy to the Rescue.
Okay.
Yeah, Connie Little. She was from Toledo, but she was Ruby Star. While we're there at the Tropicana Hotel, after we checked in, the phone rings in my room. So I pick up the phone and say, hello. And this voice says, "Is this the Strongbow from Columbus, Ohio?" And I said, "Why, yes, it is." And it turns out it was one of Michael Shortland's old girlfriends who was out there working and had run into this blues cat from England and was living with him, John Mayall.
Oh.
Yeah.
I've heard of him.
Yeah. She says, "I want to bring him in. Can you put us on the guest list?" I said, "Not a problem." So this was Cold Blood was gone, and we were opening for Ruby Star. And the second set, we did a set, she did a set, we did a set, she did a set. Second set, I think last night or the night before the last night, he gets up on the stage with us and jams. And it was towards the end of the set. You know, we jammed with him for 45 minutes. And everybody from Ruby Star's crew was over there on the sides jumping up and down. Get off the stage. I'm like, it's John Mayall. What the hell are you going to do? You got to let him play.
Oh, they wanted him off the stage.
They wanted us, everybody off the stage. We were 45 minutes late getting off the stage.
Yeah.
Wanted to get on and do her last set.
Yeah. All right.
So he was like, you know, I'm sorry about that. You know, I got carried away. And he says, why don't you come back to my house? We're having my son's 16th birthday party. Went back to his house. The best stocked bar I have seen in Los Angeles anywhere.
All right.
My God, it was like cathedral ceiling. And about 20 feet up was nothing but booze.
I didn't know he lived in LA.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know he lived in LA.
For a while, I'm not sure where he's living now, but yeah, it was. So that was a lot of fun. Then we came back. Actually, what happened from there? We went back to north to Berkeley. We were playing the Keystone Corners up there in Berkeley, and we were supposed to do a couple nights there, and we were promised, you know, we were getting like $1,000 a night, whatever. And the guy says, oh, no, you're getting the door. And there were 3 people that came in at $2 a head the first night. Mm-hmm. So we said, oh, we're not sure about this. Called our manager, and he said, well, he says, don't worry about it. Just go back to the hotel and hang out. Don't play. And he says, then go on up to Seattle where you're starting a tour with Steppenwolf and working your way back across the country. So we're staying at a friend's house up there in the Bay Area. And one of the guys goes out and gets a performance magazine. And he's looking at that performance magazine, and we sure enough are on Steppenwolf's schedule for their tour. And they're sure enough starting their tour on such and such a day and such a month. We're in San Francisco, heading north to Seattle. The tour starts in Boston in like 2 or 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
So we couldn't, we couldn't make it. We couldn't get across the country that fast. Mm-hmm. And it was, went downhill from there. We fired him and picked up Gary Licati, who was Law's manager. Part of the Licati family from the Agora chain throughout Ohio, and Atlanta had one. I think Miami had one. Yeah. So he was starting to work us. We were getting a little better, but
how old were you when all this was going down? Like 73, 74?
26.
Yes. Again, it's amazing that how quickly you rose and you're traveling all over the United States.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was, I tell you what, I am without a doubt the luckiest bass player on the face of the earth. I've fallen into some gigs that have just been incredible for me. So tempers flared as we got back, money was still good in Columbus. People were still coming out to see us in droves. But management, record company was, not backing us whatsoever. So it just, tempers flared, and I left the band and ran into a guy named Frank Pierce from Sweat Big House and took him into Owl Recording Studio. And we started recording some of his stuff and formed the group Tyler. And incredible band. That was an incredible band, but a bunch of so many different personalities. So many different.
So explain that band.
Yeah, and so many different vices.
Oh.
So many ways of getting happy for the moment, and it was, yeah, two of them are dead. Two of them are dead because of it.
Okay.
And so it was a sad story, but the incredible band. The only thing I didn't like about the band was their lack of professionalism as far as between songs. They'd sit there and play a couple notes, and the guitar player always tuning his guitar, meanie, and I'm like, way before the electronic tuners where you just, kill the sound of your amp and just kind of move your keys a little.
Yeah.
And they just out in space, some of the shit they were saying between the songs, I'm like, this is great, but let's play the fucking song, okay? And we can talk on the break. But incredible band, no money. It was a musicians band. Musicians came out to see us. Didn't normally, couldn't afford to drink to the bar owners, happiness. But yeah, it broke up. Lasted through 77, and then it broke up.
So it was a year. It was about a year.
Yeah, not even a year. But we had some great songs out of it.
Yeah, I heard. What was it? Experimenting with on time signatures and all that kind of. Yeah, music nerd kind of. I don't say music nerd. Somebody's gonna hate me for saying that, but you're writing music for musicians. Yeah,
we did Lady Madonna and 5/4. It was bad as hell.
Yeah.
I tell you, the drummer Randy Huff is one of the best drummers that I've ever played with. He and I, rarely looked at each other, but it sounded like we'd been playing together for years. Every time he'd do a drum roll, I'm right there with him, and it was incredibly tight.
Good ears.
Yeah.
All listening.
Yeah, it was, and that one, the bass was never in the PA, but the live tapes that we got was from a boom box up on stage or up on the soundboard. And you could actually even hear my Moog Taurus pedals in there occasionally, which was great.
Say that again.
Moog Taurus.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
I was the first guy in Columbus to have them.
Oh wow! Wow, yeah.
Yeah, and it was. I had that with Strongbow, and we were doing songs like "Can't Get Next to You," the old Temptations song.
Yeah.
More like Savoy Brown, but it's in C,
Yeah.
Like, C's kind of low on the bass, but not low. Yeah, I got those Moog Taurus.
Before there's 5-string basses.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I'm sitting there tapping on the C on my Moog Taurus pedals.
Yeah.
It's like boom, 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 boom. Oh, it is just.
So that started with Strongbow. Your the Taurus pedals.
Yeah. We just, that's a 13-minute song on one of our CDs live in '75. It's pretty good. I like it.
So from Tyler, after Tyler, what happens?
After Tyler was the Muff Brothers, the Muffs, Money, Little Thugs, Roy Blue, Absolute Truth, the Big E Band for a while. And then I moved down here to Florida. But I'm coming back to Columbus.
Yeah, let's talk about that. I think the Strongbow is having a reunion, and we're going to hear much more about this in the weeks to come.
Yes.
Tell us about the Strongbow reunion.
It is on August 14th and 15th, although the Natalie's Grandview website, it didn't have it listed when I logged in with you, Rod. but it's supposed to be done today or tomorrow. Everything is ready. Tickets are set to go on sale here pretty soon. It's August 14th and 15th. August 14th would be at 8 p.m. and August 15th would be at 4 p.m. and at 8 p.m. So we're doing 3 shows. And Michael Shortland unfortunately passed away in '94, I think it was. And so we've got 3 guest guitar players coming in to sit in with us. George Mobley from JD Blackfoot's band, and Whiteheart, who I played with in '71. We have Jerry Lewis is coming in to do some of the guitar work, and Bobby Oxendorf from the Hypnotics will be there as well. And we're going to be rocking with Chad Rager on drums. David Smith is, we don't think he's coming up. He is opted out. And so we're.
He lives in Florida.
Yeah, he's in Florida.
Yeah.
And we're all old. And so, you know, if somebody says I can't do it, or, you know, I'm not going to do it, then we just say, okay, sorry. But David was the founding member of Strongbow. I want to point that out. And we're going to try and get him on the band interview that you do with us.
Yeah.
Put in his 2 cents worth. But everybody in the band, I mean, we were supposed to do this July 19th, a year ago, and then it was moved to November 1st, and then May 16th of this year, and now it's bumped to the 14th and 15th. So we're all kind of getting excited and really chomping at the bit. We'll be up a week early, a little more than a week early to rehearse, just to iron out any kinks that may be there, but I don't think there are any. We should have a great time. You're going to be there. Mike Geezy is going to be there. Yeah. Natalie's is going to be videotaping everything. You guys are going to be doing our rehearsals, our dress rehearsal, our loading, our sound checks, our pre and post gig interviews with everybody in the band. And then at some point in the near future after the gigs, we're going to put it all together as a documentary style DVD. We're also going to, I'm going to put together a CD that is going to include some of the songs from the last time we played together, which was April 19th of 1979, which was the last Strongbow reunion. And that was David and John and Bill and Michael Shortland and myself that did the whole reunion. So I'm going to bring in some songs from that reunion on the CD, and then put it on with, you know, we're going to mix down, find the best songs we can, and maybe it might be a double CD. We don't know. Yeah,
that's wonderful. So lifetime friends. And
yeah, I mean, it's like back then we didn't really think about, you know, somebody get a damn camera and take pictures of these guys, you know, playing on this stage, or videotaping, or filming rather.
You know, people don't understand this, but it's like pictures are all over the place now that everybody owns a camera in their phone.
Right.
Okay. But there are entire bands that I played in that there are no pictures about.
Right. I mean, we've got a couple pictures. We have pictures from that reunion, but they're really, you know, not good quality.
Grainy.
But it was, you know, nice to see everybody and how we were all dressed, and see all the equipment, all the Ampeg amps on stage. Man, it was just awesome.
Yeah. That's wonderful. I look forward. I know Mike does as well. So thank you so much, John, for this. And I don't know that we're done. There's probably somewhere down the line. I know the next thing will be the Strongbow reunion, Strongbow video interview before the reunion. All right. So we'll see you then. And let can we take a look at your basses?
Sure.
Because I'm looking at that at the back. This is the one that, yeah.
This is my 1963 Rickenbacker.
And that's the one, the picture that I shared of you the last time. That's the one you were playing.
Yep. And when we did that, when we took that picture, we were playing at the Suds factory in Ypsilanti, Michigan. And if you'll notice in the background, down to my left, is David Smith. It was a Strongbow gig.
Okay.
And that's the same bass.
Yeah.
This is the first bass I ever had, my 1964 Fender Precision. It's been through about 4 or 5 different paint jobs. The last 2 being Bernie Stone paint jobs. It was pearlescent white. Everybody knew it as my pink bass.
Mm-hmm.
This one now has I don't know if you can see it in there, but it's got a pink undercoat.
Mm-hmm.
And then he put acid in the paint and it kind of beaded up the black on top of the pink. This is one of my early 1980s 57 vintage Precision. I got 2 of them. Yeah, this one's seen better days. I left it out in the cold and took it in and opened the case too quick.
Mm-hmm.
Shattered the finish on the back.
Yeah.
This one is my newest baby. I've always wanted a telly bass. This is a Squire.
How was that to play?
Oh, it plays awesome.
Okay.
It plays just like my Precisions. The neck is very similar. The neck is a little bit thin down here for me, but I can make it work.
Mm-hmm.
I just turn the bass amp up. And this is a 2000 Fender Precision 5-string.
Yeah. How much do you use that?
I use it a lot when I'm recording.
Mm-hmm.
I don't use it so much. I won't use it at all with Strongbow.
Yeah. It's not period correct.
Yeah, it's just, and this is my other.
You're going to get that low C. It's going to be for the Taurus pedal.
This is my other 57 vintage.
Yeah.
And we had some problems getting the Strongbow songs. The tapes that we had were all so old and everything. We had some stretching, and in other words, the songs weren't in A440.
They were what?
They were not tuned to A440
gotcha.
anymore.
All right. It was. How does that change? It's the speed of the thing, or what?
Yeah, some of them got sharp. It went sharp. Some of them went flat.
Yeah.
You got a small range of songs that are in the same tuning area. Mm-hmm. So I had 4 of my basses tuned differently. I mean, it wasn't a problem to me. I just pick up a different bass and play a few songs. Yeah, that's great. And then change basses with the songs. And one of them I actually have tuned down half a step. We're doing a song, Sister C, and it's in E flat, A flat, one of them flat. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. So I tuned down half a step. Now it's in A or E, whatever the key is.
Yeah.
It's just easier to play. So
yeah.
Why not?
All right. Thank you so much. And looking forward to the Strongbow interview. So, bass is loaded. We love guitar nerds, rock band. It's like, we'll get more story out of you in the future. My Viking bass friend.
Yeah. You get me a couple more of these and we'll tell some of those war stories you've been trying to tell.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll bring Mike in on that one.
Yeah, I'll probably have to make sure my wife is out of the house.
Yes. Yes. All righty, John.
Rod, thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much as well. All right, see you then.
All right, man. Take it easy.
Bye.